Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to Horror Analysis. Really welcome back, because it's been a while since I've done a video. So much so that I moved my room around, so the stuff you're seeing in the background isn't the stuff you saw in the background from older videos. And the lighting's a bit different, because I have a lamp there. Yeah. This is video conclusion number 2. Last time I did a conclusion on horror analysis. This time I'm doing another conclusion because it needed more than one to not be super long. This one basically entails, or should entail, what someone needs to do to turn this into a course. These are the videos that I've done. 64 of them, I think it was. 64 of them. Named and numbered videos, and some of these don't count, like the homework video, which is just a short little thing. But, and that could just be a handout sort of thing. But what do you need to do to turn this into a course? And, of course, also, what kind of course do you want it to be? This is a couple of my conceptions on what kind of courses I want it to be. For college, college courses are usually 2 days a week, like an hour or an hour and 10-minute course. Class length. Maybe sometimes more, but not often. Most of mine were hours, and they were 2 days a week. Some classes were 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and it's awful because in college, Thursday night's a party night. So getting up for a class on Friday is problematic. But this first column here, if you set up a course to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday and Thursday, if you're Tuesday and Thursday and you go one video per class, you end up going for 32 weeks, 18 weeks. It's an 9-week for half semester. 9 weeks for semester or 9 weeks for half semester? And then 18 weeks for a course. And that's 32 weeks, so that's no good. But of course, if it's a college course, there's a lot more homework and a lot less hand-holding, a lot less spoon-feeding of the information that I was doing here, because time's no object on these ones. Let's see, what did I actually call it? Did I call it spoon-feeding? I think I did. Who is the audience? Who are the students? I originally intended for the class to be upperclassmen of high school, juniors and seniors, 17 and 18-year-olds, or lowerclassmen of college, an intro class sort of thing, which would be, 18, 19-year-olds. The higher the level, the less you have to spoon-feed the information. Also, high school is there's more CYA, there's more cover your ass, there's more red tape. And as we all know, that seniors in high school are delicate little snowflakes, so you can't recommend R-rated movies to them because they'll, become junkies or something. I don't know. It's a load of crap, but it happens. Some parent will get very offended if you recommend an R-rated movie to a group of 18-year-olds. College, you don't have to deal with that crap. You can tell them to pound sand. If a parent complains, parents don't complain in college. It's not the deal. But parents can complain in high school. Little Johnny or Little Susie is messed up because they watched Psycho or something, which is ridiculous. And in horror, of course, that's even more ridiculous. They're impressionable, air quotes. There was, in my original conception for high school, I actually looked up a bunch of PG-13 horror movies to recommend because, if it were a high school class, that's what I'd have to do. I actually have a list. I still have the list. 1408 was actually a PG-13. That's an intense PG-13 movie. It's alphabetical for some reason. I guess it is. Anaconda, which was the large snake. Arachnophobia, which was massification spiders. The Asphyx was PG. I've never heard of that movie before, but it is a PG movie. Attack of the Crab Monsters was PG. The Bees was PG. The Birds, I think, was unrated, but it was at the time where they didn't have ratings. I think now it's PG-13 or PG. Blackula is the blaxploitation Dracula movie. Is PG, but I don't recommend it. It's impressionable, and I don't want to subject kids to that. It's just stupid. It's not a bad movie. It's just, you don't want to subject... you want to watch a movie when you're in your 20s or 30s and sort of chuckle at the bad parts, sort of enjoy the good parts, but, it's not a teenager movie. Blood and Chocolate, which was a werewolf movie, which was PG-13. It's not horror. It's a different. It's not a true horror movie. Bloodbath was PG. Boogeyman was PG-13. Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie that preceded the show was PG-13. Cat's Eye, which is a Stephen King. Was it a Stephen King? I think it was a Stephen King adaptation. Creature from the Black Lagoon was PG. Critters, the original Critters, was PG-13. Cursed was PG-13. But if you're going to watch Cursed, it's a werewolf movie, watch the unrated version because it's so much better. It's not bad, it's PG-13, but adult themes and such. But it's so much better as the unrated movie. I think I only own the PG-13 movie. I don't own the unrated, but I've seen it, and I think I originally rented it as a PG-13 movie, as an unrated movie, and then bought it as PG-13, not knowing any better. I is the next one, EYE, because we're going in alphabetical order. I don't know anything about I. The original Gremlins was PG. Do I have that? Yeah, it's over there. It's beneath my bowl. It's horror comedy. Haunted Honeymoon is definitely horror comedy as well. That's PG. So is Gremlins. I Am Legend was PG-13. Unfortunately, I don't recommend I Am Legend because it's the weakest of the Last Man on Earth versions. Last Man on Earth is the best. I think that's unrated. Omega Man, I don't know what that came out as, and that's just a fair. Island of Dr. Moreau. That's Marlon Brando. It's one of Marlon Brando's last works. Jaws was only PG, which you could definitely recommend. The Langoliers was a King adaptation TV movie. The Mothman Prophecies, The Mummy, which is action horror. Nightwing was PG. Salem's Lot, the 1979 TV movie, is PG. Skinwalkers was awful. I don't recommend that anyway. That's a werewolf movie. That was PG-13. Stepford Wives from 75 was PG. That's recommendable. Storm of the Century was one of the best TV adaptations of Stephen King's work. I highly recommend it. Scare the bejesus out of you. I live in Maine, so snowy stuff in Maine. It's good stuff. I think there's a couple King cameos as well. He plays the preacher on TV and the weatherman, I think. In a broken TV. It's a preacher preaching on a TV that's cracked, so it shouldn't work at all. A cathode ray tube that's broken doesn't work. It's a good movie. Check out Storm of the Century. You can usually pick it up in the bargain bin, because unfortunately that's where it's been consigned to. But it's definitely good. It's got one of the guys from Wings in it. Stephen King's a big Wings fan. Tremors, which was good. Not necessarily one I'd recommend as a... it wouldn't be my first choice in movies to recommend to people. But, it's action horror. And it's fun. Van Helsing is the last one. That's action horror, and that's PG-13 as well. So there's some... See if I can... Maybe I can pop up a list of them on the screen. For PG-13 and PG horror movies. I'd rather not recommend only PG-13 movies, but if you're doing this as a high school class, you probably will have to, because there's CYA and red tape involved. Books are rarely rated. Books are almost never rated, but there's some ones that you don't want to recommend to people, because the parents will get back to you and say, oh, you recommend this book to little Johnny and now he's a jerk. It's your fault. Well, little Johnny was a jerk beforehand, but whatever. There's obviously some, for CYA issues, you don't want to recommend. Lovecraft, you don't want to recommend. Lovecraft's supernatural horror and literature is perfectly fine. Even essential, since it's one of the course books that I recommended. But Lovecraft's stories have a tendency to be racist. Howard's stories tend to be racist as well, maybe even more so. Robert E. Howard, the Conan guy that also does horror books, horror stories. Fantastic writer, definitely one of my favorites in all of his books, but he does tend to be quite racist. And then there's books that just have sexual deviancies and sexual matters, and of course 18-year-olds in high school are complete innocents who would never think of sex ever, so you can't recommend anything to them, or they might think about sex, because they never do at 18. You never did at 18. It's a sarcasm alarm going off. But there's sexual deviancies that you really don't want to push in Somtow's work. Incest and, quasi-incest and child abuse and molestation and stuff. And of course, there's House of Leaves, which I used as a jumping off point for horror anthropology. It's got some sexual deviancies, or at least sexual matters that you don't want to recommend to high school students because whatever. Mostly only in the intro, but it happens. So let's see, hold on a second. Okay, yeah, also for depending on if it's a course for high schoolers or it's a course for collegiate college students, that also determines how much they can pick up through outside reading. Lovecraft's not all that easy to read. Lovecraft's also full of dust. Lovecraft's not all that easy to read. He's high level for high schoolers at the best of time. Best of times. And, it gets listy here, so it's drier, those two combinations aren't really good for keeping high school students' attention. There's also Noel Carroll, of course, is writing towards college students, higher level college students at that, and or post college or post grad people. Not something that's going to be easily read by high schoolers. Possibly read, but not easily read. So you're going to have to spoon feed or explain. You're just going to have to explain a lot of concepts in Noel Carroll's work. The Stephen King book, Danse Macabre, will be the easiest for high schoolers to read. They could read it as a book. Problem is, Stephen King jumps all over the place. He's the most accessible, but he's the most scattered. If you're doing a course with deadlines, he meanders too much for that. High school students could certainly read Danse Macabre cover to cover and assimilate the information, but not on a deadline. When I was a teacher, for the 1 year I was a teacher, I had a problem differentiating or, figuring out what should be homework and what should be classwork. And of course in this, I just did it all here because there's no difference between homework and classwork here. Any prospective students on this course are at home. They're not in the classroom. They may be reading along, maybe, but I tend to explain it anyway. If you have one possibility is have homework preceding history. If students watch previews, say you're going to do the 70s. So homework tonight, kids. We're going over the 70s tomorrow. We went over the 80s today. Go look up a couple of previews on YouTube, like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, What's 70s? I deleted it. Well, Salem's Lot, the 70s 70s TV version of Salem's Lot, the Nosferatu style vampire. The Stepford Wives was 70s. You could have have them watch a couple of previews and sort of get a feel for the 70s before they come into class. Also, if you wanted to be more intense about it, of course, this is one I didn't really have much success with. I was never good at getting a feel on what could be homework, what should be homework, and what should be classwork. You could do Project Gutenberg or LibriVox. Say, okay, read a short story from this time period, like, I don't know, like the horror from Lovecraft, because Lovecraft's horror works, a lot of them are now on LibriVox. So listen to, Nyarlathotep, or, going back a little bit further, listen to, oh goodness, come on now. Oh yeah, so, Modern Masters. So there's Blackwood, Algernon Blackwood stuff is going to be on there. Arthur Machen stuff is going to be on there. Let's see. M.R. James will certainly be on there, and so going over those, all those lists. When I went over History of Horror, it's been several months since I've been done over History of Horror. But all those lists, so many of them are available on LibriVox. Oh, like Hawthorne, Nathaniel Hawthorne, short stories you can listen to. Poe, short stories you can listen to. Good homework exercise. Go to LibriVox, listen to some Poe short stories. Listen to Nathaniel Hawthorne's Poison Master's Daughter. Is that the right title? The other one was have students do some research into other cultures before anthropology lesson. Tomorrow, kids, we're going to go over India. Your homework tonight, take a look at Indian cinema. Check out some previews for that. Check out some do some research on Indian history and of cinema or art in general. Or South American, Central American, something along those lines. So something along those lines. You could do some homework and cut down the time of stuff doing in classes. I don't think in any way, shape, or form, without massive amounts of homework, you'll be able to do a Tuesday and Thursday and get all 64 videos into 18 weeks. Or even 9, if it's 9 weeks, it's even tighter. It almost doubles the amount of time. I think I said at one point that the average... Oh yeah, here. Total time is 46 hours of video. Almost 47 hours of video. Oh, well, that doesn't count because it counts my conclusions. So 46 hours of video. Average time, 43 minutes. probably a bit more in the average time because some of those are really short videos. So if it's a 45-minute thing, that's a high school class. A high school class is 45 minutes, and that's this more colorful one here at the far end. If I were teaching this as a high school class, I'm shooting for a 45-minute class with some homework reading, obviously, and some in-class movies for breaks, because you do want to break it up. How do I want to do this in video form? Do I want to switch from this one to this one? Yeah. Okay, so this is these two are my lists of videos. Intro syllabus, my curriculum vitae, monsterness, all these are my titles of classes. This is the first screen, and then this is the second screen here. And it goes up to 64, which is horror tabletop games is number 64. Horror tabletop games is number 64. So I got up to 64 here on before this green section. The green section is if I'm doing it as a high school horror class, and or you, because I don't think I'm actually going to do it. If I were to do it as a high school horror class, I would have to put in some Y horror. The horror psychology and horror sociology stuff that I didn't want to do, I decided I'm going to do it because it does need to be done. Unfortunately, I've started to do my research on it, so I'm going to start doing classes after I finish up some other things I wanted to do. Namely this video and 2 special topic videos. Mind Control, Alien Parasites, and Genre Overview, which is going to be horror comedy, I think. Since I've been watching a lot of horror comedies and trying to get into that, get a feel for that a bit more. Mind Control, Alien Parasites is just a genre I really like. And I think that's a good genre to talk about. Special topics, what I'm going to do is do them as this is what a term paper should be. In this I have this blue section. There's one for midterm, one for final. One is for when the book and movie reports are due. It's a great way to do the course, especially for high school students. You want to give them a book report for a horror book. That's fantastic. And you should do a movie report too, because there's a lot of movies in the genre. And a movie report would be a great thing for writing, because it is sort of an English class at this point. An offshoot of an English class. And then at the end, you have a term paper. So for up to the midterm, you have book report as the main paper writing. After the midterm, you have term paper as the main part of writing. And a subgenre like Mind Control, Alien Parasites is a fantastic possibility for a term paper. That's the one where Slither, Shivers, the Puppet Masters, I actually had Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan, because they had Mind Control, Alien Parasites in there. I had The Host. I had to suffer through watching The Host, because it is a Mind Control, Alien Parasite movie. Shivers isn't, by the way. It's not Alien. it's not an alien parasite because it's not extraterrestrial. It's a gene splicing type parasite. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, but that sort of subgenre, where and The Faculty, Jon Stewart's most inspired role. Actually, it's a good movie. Surprisingly good movie. It's aliens have and take over the body like a parasite from another planet, takes over the body and takes over control of the person. You don't know who to trust, paranoia, etc., etc. Fascinating little subgenre. Certainly a great idea for a paper. I'll go over it because I'm going to do one. Not a paper, but a video paper. So this, actually, I should have just made a larger copy of this, but I didn't. So you're going to have to deal with this. Up until this monster house, this is a good place. This yellow is any video I want to show in class. Monster House is a animated video. It's not Disney, but it's DreamWorks, I think. And it's a perfect complex discovery plot. I think I probably mentioned that earlier. So when you're talking about the complex discovery plot, perfect time. Pop in a movie, give them 2 days of rest from, doing heavy work, and let them relax and watch a fun, complex discovery plot movie. And I do have for college students as well, but for high school students, you want to not overtax them. So, the first couple of days, of course, there's the My CV and the syllabus are the first day. And probably a bit more. The first couple of days are just introducing the topic, like monsterness, magnification, massification, fusion, metonymy, fission, and then I have fission part B and C, which should be shoved together with the other fission. And of course, fusion part B, which is video 55 or something, would be shoved in with fusion as well. This one. And then talking about King's and Lovecraft's versions of monsterness. And then you talk about the complex discovery plot and its variations. That's the kind of horror plots. Section A was monsterness. Section B was horror plots. So once you go over to complex discovery plots and its variations, you show them Monster House to get it to sink in, and you move on with the other plots. You can also see the times on here in these columns here, along with my uploaded column. If I have a checkbox there, I've uploaded it, and if I have at this time, and if I have a made column, I've made the video. So, the different types of plot. The Overreacher plot we talked about, the fantastic plot. Then King's, the Tales of the Hook, the Thing Without a Name, the Vampire, the Werewolf, the Ghost. And that's, these ones. And they all average around 45 minutes. Probably a bit more. I think they all break 45 minutes, with the exception of Fission C or stuff like that. But I think that could be homework. If you can shave that 7 minutes off to homework, or 10 minutes off the homework, I think you'll be in good shape. The next section, of course, is horror history, which starts video. Oh, let's try this one. Nope, let's try that one. Where's it? Horror history. Video 19, which is on here. Sorry, folks, I have to bounce around. So, horror history will actually take you to the midterm. And in that, you have Mark Gaddis's History of Horror, which is definitely worth watching. The slasher documentary that I found online, I'll try to put up a link now. It's a little bit intense for high school students. It would be one of those things where you need to... they have to be maybe seniors who are 18 or over, or have parental permission. Because the documentary doesn't pull punches. It shouldn't, but it doesn't. And since it doesn't pull punches, you need to get permission if you're dealing with legal children. Let's see. And that takes you down to... Oh yeah, then there's another one that says YouTube here. Monday of week 8. I have this day dedicated essentially to... This is the point... It's 31, 32, 33. That's the time of the 30s. And earlier. So this is your very early motion pictures. The ones that didn't get up to full feature length motion pictures. So you could spend a day, just say, okay, we're going to watch a bunch of really short, really old horror movies. And I think that'd be a good day for it. Especially if it's a day after you make them turn in their book reports. So, there's The Haunted Castle. Oops. George Méliès, The Haunted Castle. There's so many. The Thomas Edison's Frankenstein. Lots of... There's really old Jekyll and Hydes that are 7 minutes long. There's that Anne Boleyn's... Oh, Mary Queen of Scots Execution, which I mentioned before. Yeah, so there's a day of just YouTube videos. That's certainly can kill 45 minutes with that. And then you get up to the midterm, and then you start on horror anthropology. Um, 43 and 44, 44 and 45 was just East Asia, and then you have the Asian the Asian horror documentary. I'll try to put up a link on that one too. Fantastic documentary. It's much safer. It's a lot. The slasher doc had definite gore and definite nudity, so you need the permission. But this one's much safer. The rest of them are much safer, to be honest. And then after the Asian, you have Indian and all the other places. Horror Europa is at the end of Europe, obviously. If you can find a link for it, good luck. Or you can see if you can go to BBC's website and see if you can purchase it. Which I'm pretty much want to do because it's a really good documentary. So is History of Horror, Mark Gaddis, or Mark Gatiss, which I keep not sure how to pronounce his name. I keep assuming it's a Gaddis, but I think I'm wrong the whole time. Horror Europa, then you go into the rest of history of... no, not history. Horror anthropology. Where's the cutoff on that? And then non-narrative horror. That starts at 55, I think. Yeah, non-narrative horror to 55 to 64 is non-narrative horror, and that takes you to the end of week 14, essentially. What I have plus signs here for all of these. And that's because you want to give lots of examples and let the students enjoy them. I didn't have time to necessarily have students read or myself read poetry on the poetry course, or look at lots of paintings. Okay, these are paintings of blah 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 blah. You could have, I was just flipping through them pretty quick because I was trying to talk at the same time, but you could have the students with an overhead projector or something along those lines enjoy these paintings more, the sculptures more. You could even have a tabletop game day, or clips of video games. How many YouTube channels are devoted to horror video games, and horror video games at that? I watch a lot of video game channels, so I could just pop on this and that. You could definitely get kids into it. But kids are usually playing horror video games at that point anyway, so it's not necessary, but it would be good to do. What am I missing? Of course, I can't play on YouTube copyrighted music. Not that I'm charging, but whatever. But if you're purchasing the music for yourself, say I wanted to pick up a One-Eyed Doll video CD, which I do, and I wanted to let the kids listen to it when I'm talking about horror rock. Of course you would. That, the horror music section, those 3 days, could turn into 6 days very easily if you just wanted to keep giving people examples. Like, why would you not listen to this stuff? But it takes, 3 minutes per song, or if you're talking about heavy metal, 18 minutes per song. Jab at heavy metal there. But some of those doom metal things were way too long. But, give the kids a sample of the type of music. Why wouldn't you do that? Classical music, of course, you'd have to spend some time with. Horror theater, Hexentance. I didn't show the video because I don't know how to do an upload of videos in this. My laptop's video editing is limited, to say the least. I'm lucky I'm able to do as much as I am, which isn't much. But if you're doing it as an actual course, show them Hexentance. Show them the parts of Dance of the Furies from Isadora Duncan. Show them Ballet of the Nuns, which still isn't the one I'm thinking of. It's the other ballet guy. It's Nijinsky. It's Rite of Spring. Thank you. Rite of Spring, the choosing one and the Dance of Death one. What was the other ballet one? The one where the women dance the guys to death. Show them clips of this stuff. It's cool. Definitely do it. So, these videos might have been 36 minutes long, but it doesn't take much at all to push that into another course, another class rather. So even now, I'm not sure how that would probably get to the Friday anyway, that week 14 Friday. And then you have 15, 16, 17, and 18. Usually you have 2 days for review in high school, at least. And then the final day. Term paper due on whatever day. So this is 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks of horror psychology and horror sociology, which is 15 videos. I don't know if I'll get 15 videos of horror psychology done, but I'm not even shooting for trying to fill out a number. But I'm also being very generous that I can get through this stuff in the amount of time I think it's going to take me. I don't think it will. I think that it's immensely optimistic, far too optimistic, to think that you can finish History of Horror before midterm. This is the full list of class thus far. History of Horror is this huge white chunk in the middle. That's way more than midterm levels. I mean, maybe the history forwards, the last 4, could be done afterwards, and one of them's review anyway. So you might be able to shave little bits, but not a lot. Yeah, it's very optimistic to think that that's going to hit before the midterm exam. So I think with horror psychology, you get a full 18-week course. I'll have to revisit it after I do the horror psychology videos, but we'll get to that. There was a few other things I wanted to talk about. You could also combine similar lessons together. In the 2010s, there's only 4 years of it. And I did it I did the video in 2013, so there's only 3 years of it. You could certainly combine it with the 2000s. You could, if you wanted a big chunk and not be so Anglo-American, Eurocentric, you could combine anthropology and history. I don't know how that would work. I don't really have any desire to do it myself, but and then, of course, I could cut down time by not umming and ahhing a lot and not looking up stuff on... You wouldn't look up the stuff in the class. So if you take all the time I spent looking up stuff on the internet, you would save some time. Alright, folks, that was horror analysis conclusion number 2. I'll be back for some special topics, and I'll be back after that for some horror psychology. For now, folks, have fun. Have a great night.